Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast Q&A session with JP Dinnell and Lucas Pinkard. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Man, I'm excited that we get to knock these episodes out of the park, man.
YouTube exclusives.
Yeah. See, so these episodes we talked about on my last podcast that Lucas and I did, I was reading that poem out of the book, and then we kind of dove into it, which I got some good feedback on that episode. I've also got people reaching out and asking about, okay, hey, when's the Q&A session coming out? So this episode we're recording will either be released, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and then we'll have our regular episode on Friday. So every Friday we have our normal podcast episode that's going to be on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. These extra little Q&A sessions are going to be only on YouTube.
Only on YouTube.
Randomly
YouTube exclusive.
YouTube exclusive. Is that an actual term?
I mean, it is now. I mean, it is for these YouTube exclusive episodes.
Because they're exclusively on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to put these out, and they will randomly come throughout the week. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, I guess you were saying on the last episode, they've got to hit that notify button, right?
Yeah, if they want to know when these come out, they can subscribe and then hit the little
because we're not going to hit
the notifications.
It's just going to be any random time. Cool. I like it. So I got to give a little shout out and love, and I know we'll also put this on the podcast that we record as well. That's coming out on Friday. But I normally don't wear a hat, but I had to wear this. Byron Nelson Wrestling, Aiden's wrestling team, is going to States this weekend.
Really?
Yeah. And so
that's awesome.
Aiden's one of the team captains, so he gets to go with them. He's not wrestling.
Right.
He broke his hand at the very end of the wrestling season.
It's like a spiral fracture?
A legit spiral fracture on his fourth metacarpal.
I don't know what most of that means.
Yeah, so it's the fourth bone in the hand right here. And then his right ring finger was completely dislocated and turned almost 90 degrees. He reset it and then finished wrestling the rest of the day. Wow. Came home, we taped it up the next day. So this was on a Monday. The next day on Tuesday, wrestles for the varsity spot and wins.
Good grief.
We tape it up before he did that, and then we taped it up later that day when he came home, and obviously we're icing it and doing everything that we can. And then Wednesday night, that next night, he had a wrestling match, varsity wrestling match against a real good Jesuit school down in the Dallas area. I mean, they're multiple time state champions for wrestling, and just like, I mean, you see all the banners up in the gym, and I'm like, this is going to be a unique night. Let's go. And, I had his hand taped up like a freaking cast, man. It was like as much. I rode the limit. I was like with the medic and athletic commissioner or whoever that was that like checked it. I kept going like, hey, man, are we good? And he checked it like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Let's just keep adding some structure to it because, I mean, he was in a lot of pain.
No doubt.
And, he knew that this might be his last match. And I remember actually taking a picture and sending it to you, Isaac, Josh, and Steven. And like when I took the picture, bro, I had like tears rolling down my face. And I was like, this is probably the last time I ever get to see him wrestle.
Dang.
Which was factual.
Yeah.
Because his next match I missed. But anyways, I was there for this match, and it was incredible. He lost, but he went against a guy that took 6th in state last year. And the guy could not pin Aiden. And every time Aiden was on the ground, he'd just get right back up.
Good grief.
The guy was smoking him on points at the very beginning.
Right.
And then Aiden was able to come back with the points. And Aiden almost pinned him a few times. And it was just impressive. The pace that Aiden pushed at with a broken hand was, I mean, as a father to watch that, you're just absolutely just so proud, right? And they get done with the match. Kid goes out in the hallway and the kid starts puking.
Oh.
He's like crying because he was just like so like wore out from trying to keep up with Aiden. It was awesome to see Coach Ornelas and Coach Basham and his team, like how proud they were of him. Like after that match, it's like, bro, you went out there and you wrestled so hard with a broken hand. That whole never quit mentality was just very apparent, in Aiden when he was out there. So it was pretty awesome to watch that. But took a few weeks off. let his hand rest. And he was still doing what he could for practice and wrestling, and would splint it up, and we taped it up. And he had, unfortunately, I was in San Diego for the muster, and the FTX.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, muster.
Oh,
muster.
I think I might have been mispronouncing this.
Jackwagon. And then Samsonite, I was way off.
That was way off.
So I was in San Diego for the muster. And what's funny is I almost said it the wrong way. And I'm like, Jackwagon. And then the FTX that was right after it was on Wednesday.
Right.
And I knew Aiden would be wrestling one last time. And I remember I was at the muster, and Jocko was like, when's your flight? Are you leaving? And I'm like, I have the FTX after the muster. Like, part of it was, the selling point was it was after the muster. Mm-hmm. But the other selling point is that I was going to be there with Cody running it. And it was like, I can't, So unfortunately, and Aiden understood that because I talked to him about it. And, Aiden's like, cool, no worries. He's so good. Like, I made a comment. I'm like, man, I'm really sorry. I've been so busy and missed that. He goes, dude, he's like, you made it to as many as you could. And we're at the house, and he goes, we have this house because you work.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And for me to hear that from him was like, but I hate that I missed his last match,
right. But
we have videos
he makes a fair
it.
Point.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately, like, that's one of the, for our situation, that's just the reality of our life. Like, I travel for work, and that's how we make our money. And I don't have a home every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job. There's times that I'm envious of that, and there's other times I'm like, I don't think I could do that.
I'm happy not to go into the office today.
Yeah. And so anyways, so you had that last match on Wednesday, and we're running the FTX. We get done with the run, and it was like almost our last run. And I get a FaceTime from Amanda, and so I step outside and I answer it, and she's like, has like tears down her face, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, Aiden won. She's like, Aiden won his match. And then I see Aiden, and he's just standing there, and he's all obviously proud and emotional. He won his last match of the season with a broken hand and pinned the dude.
Dang. That's pretty freaking impressive, man.
It was so awesome. So shout out to Byron Nelson wrestling team, our son Aiden Tremble. Awesome hard work this year, buddy. And as I think about how awesome it is to have our kids in sports, but also wrestling, right? And jiu-jitsu, and we talked about jiu-jitsu last episode.
We did, yep.
And how our kids train, and you just got back into it, and you're training with us full time now at Double Five in Highlands Village under Formiga. And it's just incredible.
That's a very generous way to put it, saying that I'm training full time. I am getting smashed full time at Double Fives at Formiga.
Well, you're committed to training, so we'll just say that. Right?
I'm just
you
showing
can justify
up and
however
getting
you want,
smashed.
but
yeah,
the fact that you're back in the jiu-jitsu game,
it's nice.
It's sick.
Yeah.
But to have good coaches, and I think about
as
a father to see what Coach Ornelas all 4 years has done to pour into Aiden and to help develop him as a young man is incredible. And then also Coach Basham, who's come in the picture the last 2-3 years, it's just incredible. And I'm just so thankful for good coaches that just have the ability to influence our children. And, as your kids get older, it's going to be the same thing for you.
Yeah.
It's just, I was thinking about it. I'm like, what's crazy is there's a possibility if my daughters stick with jiu-jitsu, which they say they want to, and they want to coach one day, I was like, my daughters could be coaching your son in jiu-jitsu one day.
No doubt. Yeah. Your daughters would
like
definitely
alongside
be
Victoria
of the age to be coaching.
And I was just like, how incredible is that?
That's weird.
So
that's weird to think of what an old dad I am.
Hey, age doesn't mean anything. You're active, you're healthy, you're in shape. You put your health as a priority. Like
getting closer to being in shape.
Yeah.
So
aren't we all?
Yeah, I hope so, right? That's the part of being on the path. Well, let's hop into some questions. I got I don't know how to say this name. Amber, I got Knudsen. Lauren, maybe.
Oh, that's her husband, Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amber and her husband Lauren, they've come to a few musters, did the individual FTX. Yes, and her husband came to the muster and did the post-muster FTX
as well. Is it Knudsen or Knudsen?
Honestly, he also came to Pursuit.
Because there is
I've never heard them say their last name, so I don't know.
Well, because there's a thing right now on the internet, right? There's this kid who's this incredible athlete, and his name is Noah. and his last name is Knigga, and it's definitely
Get some, Noah.
it's definitely a hard K. It's
Nope.
It's Knigga.
Yeah.
And but he's dude, there's videos of him all over the internet. He's a stud athlete, but that's one of those that like they're looking at his name and everybody's like, I've seen a picture of that.
I don't know how. Good luck to the announcers this year.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. Yeah, and he's a multi-sport athlete. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a silent.
Yeah, Amber and Lauren, they're awesome people. I think they got like 7 kids. And they're just good humans, man.
Yeah.
They're on the path and they support the podcast. They listen all the time.
Awesome.
They share it all the time.
They do, yeah. They comment often. Amber wants to know, what's your favorite book?
Oh, my goodness.
I know, right? You can't pick the Bible. She says other than the Bible. I know. They have also 8 kids. I'm looking at something. They have 8 kids.
Yeah, I was like, I knew it was like 7 or 8. Favorite book.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that's hard.
What's your favorite book or most impactful?
Oh, okay. Well.
And she does say other than the Bible.
I would say impactful for the later part of my life, Leadership Strategy and Tactics.
Okay.
Equally, Extreme Ownership. But it was at different phases.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard. Like, that's hard. I would say, like, current day Leadership Strategy and Tactics.
Okay.
Because I use it as literally a manual. Dichotomy of leadership is phenomenal because it's a good reminder, like, hey, we need to be trying to find some balance in our life.
Right.
At Extreme Ownership, I would back it up down the time frame. And, like, literally because I read Extreme Ownership with an open mind, it put me in a position where I wanted to take control over my life again. I wanted to fix all the damage that I had created with Amanda and, family members and our divorce. And so because I read Extreme Ownership with an open mind, it got me back into church.
Yeah.
When we were separated.
Yeah.
And because I was going back to church, it put me in a position to where when Amanda wanted to go to church with me and the girls, I was open and I said yes to it, Right. I could have easily said no or, hey, I have other plans. But, I was, Extreme Ownership put me in that position. Just to understand, man, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess if you're saying overall most impactful book, it would have to be Extreme Ownership because it changed the trajectory of my life legitimately. There's a really good book I read from Rock Bottom to Rock Star. It's I'll bring it to you. It's a really good book just from this guy who literally was in and out of gangs growing up.
Yeah, Ryan Blair.
Yeah. And I'm drawing a blank on the second book that he wrote. But yeah, Rock Bottom to Rock Star was a great book that I read. Just it has really good applicable lessons in there that I applied in business when I was doing sales and, growing as an individual. And even at Echelon Front, there's a few times I've referred back to some of his things. Yeah. Working with different people. So
Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain.
Yep.
Is the sequel to that one.
Yeah. Those are really good books. Of course, you asked this question. I'm like trying to visualize my bookshelf in my office.
Bro, that would do me no good at all right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say Extreme Ownership.
Do you ever read fiction books?
I mean, I like the Jack Carr series.
Okay.
I gotta share my shout out to my boy Jack Carr.
Yeah.
But no, I need to. I don't. Often.
I mean, I don't know if you need to. That's one of those things that, like, right now I'm trying to find the balance because I'm trying to average a book a week this year, and and it's weird because I'm finding, like, I plan for some cheater books, so I've got some on the shelf that I know are like, this is 150 pages. This is going to take me 3 hours to get through. So if I've got like a...
Okay, so you said nonfiction, right? Yeah. Or no fiction.
Yeah, fiction.
I always mix those up in my brain. Fiction. Jocko wrote a book called The Final Spin.
Okay, I'm curious about this because all I've read for it is the description. I've seen it on like his list of books, and it's about a kid who like his parents own a laundromat.
It's gonna wreck you.
Seriously?
Tears running down my face reading it on a flight.
Really?
I get on my phone and I text Jocko. I'm like, "You're a jackass. You could have given me a heads up." And he responds, "Sorry, bro. My bad. You're right. I should have."
Wow. Okay.
Wrecked me.
Now I'm interested.
I got that text I sent Jocko.
Uh-huh.
I'm not exaggerating. Got at least a dozen text messages like that from my buddies that were like, "Bro, WTF, bro." Sitting here crying, reading this book from Jocko.
Okay. All right. I got to check it out. Because it's kind of been in that, like, maybe it'll make it on the list, part of the list, right?
There's no maybe.
I mean, well, there has been a maybe. That maybe has
I'm
now
saying
been
from
eliminated.
now on,
Yeah,
there's no maybe.
Final spin.
Yes.
Because it looks so... I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover.
Oh, yeah. It looks basic.
It's way different than anything else.
That's the point.
I know.
That's the point.
I mean, I say I know. I figured.
It gets people into his ecosystem.
Yeah. All right. I'll have to check it out.
Final spin.
I'm putting it on the list.
Dude, it is.
It'll come right after Chronicles of Narnia.
I have no idea. Yeah. I haven't read those.
Yeah, they're all fairly short.
Yeah, so there's some fiction books I read with character Bob Lee Swagger. He's a Vietnam sniper.
Okay, cool.
And I think they took inspiration from Carlos Hathcock around him.
Uh-huh.
And those books
That's
I
a
read.
bad dude.
Oh, that's a bad, yeah. That would have been awesome to meet him. Those guys, sorry, not those guys. The guy that wrote that series, all those books I got sucked into.
Really?
I read all of them when I was in the teams. They're incredible.
No doubt. I just got Dakota Meyer's book.
Oh.
So I'm really excited about that. I picked that one up. And then I got a book called To Hell and Back, Audie Murphy's story from World War II.
Wow.
Yeah, which I'm really stoked about. It's his autobiography, like his memoir, what happened there, which I'm really pumped about.
That's cool.
Favorite book for me is a book called Killing Jesus by a guy named Stephen Mansfield. Bill O'Reilly wrote a book by the same title.
Yeah.
But Killing Jesus by Stephen Mansfield is, I think, for believers, if you want a really good historical representation of what was happening during the time of Christ, what like the plot to kill him was actually like, it's absolutely insane. The book is great. It's incredibly well researched. Like Dr. Mansfield does all kinds of like incredible historical research. He teaches at a Christian college in Florida. He is a consultant in Washington, D.C. for different policy writers, especially when it comes to like military policy, because he grew up in a military family. Like the dude is absolutely incredible. And on top of all of that, he is like one of the most prolific authors on biblical manhood that exists. So he kind of like checks all of the boxes for our stuff. And one of the things he does in that book is the way he describes Herod. So Herod in like Matthew 1 and 2 and Luke 1 and 2, like the Herod that goes and commits infanticide and like has all the babies wiped out because he doesn't want another king whenever the Magi come to him and they're like, hey, we're looking for the king. The stuff that he writes about Herod's illness and like going into research on how just terrible Herod's illness was. Because like Josephus and some of the other history books are like, yeah, he was pretty sick. And they kind of describe his conditions. Well, he figures it out. Like the dude's got maggots growing in him because of one of the sicknesses that he has. Like his belly is almost like glowing red because the infection inside of him is so bad. It is insane. But the detail that he goes into in that, how he describes like what the scourging actually was, what took place and all that. Yeah, it's incredible. So I think that as far as like favorite book, that's it. But I do think, swinging back to like recently, most impactful, especially now that Kirsten has read it, and not to like copy you or to cop out, but Extreme Ownership has been, it's been a game changer. Yeah, outside of and so I read Extreme Ownership in like I think July. Right, it was the first time.
Yeah.
Right, and I've given away probably 4 dozen copies of Killing Jesus, and I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2 dozen for Extreme Ownership right now. Like it's, yeah. So those are the 2 tops for me.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, I know Leif is working on a project, and I am ecstatic for that to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do I need to have another conversation with him?
Yes. Get him past the finish line. You know, actually, shout out to Leif Babin and Stoic Jiu-Jitsu down in the Dripping Springs area.
Yep.
New gym is opening up. I think they're doing the grand opening at the end of March. So I'm going to try to make a little trip down there for that, a little quick weekend trip. But all right, what else?
All right, so we've got that, and then
I know I talked long at the beginning about wrestling and diving into it.
We'll get one more quick hitter in here. When do we get to hear what JP's EDC is? And aside from jiu-jitsu, what his workout routines look like?
That's a good question. I mean, we could go long on that, but everyday carry, I have a SIG 320 compact. I like it because carries 15 rounds. I can appendix carry it, no problem. I can put it in a fanny pack if I need, no problem. And then, you know, I would say if it's knife, it's probably going to be a half face blade knife that I have.
Do they have folding knives? Or
yep,
is all
they
their
have a
stuff
few
fixed?
folders.
Do they?
Yeah, no, they have a few folders, and their fixed blades are just incredible. And then, like in my fanny pack, I always no matter what, I always have like 2 different types of pens, like a ballpoint pen. One, you know, my primary use is obviously for like writing and taking notes and stuff like that. Yeah. But if I'm traveling, like if I had to have a weapon on me, like it's a ballpoint pen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If I had to like use something like to, you know.
I mean, I've watched John Wick. He did 3 guys with a pencil.
Yeah. Well. I was saying, like, for me, I have this really heavy duty, right in the rain mechanical pencil that would puncture.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, if needed. And I know someone's listening, like, oh, that's crazy. You're out of your mind. Okay. Like, I don't fantasize about using it. Yeah. But if something bad was to happen on a plane or, you know, I'm going to use that. If I have to help defend somebody or defend myself, it's funny because people are always like, oh, what you got in that fanny pack? You know, and I'm like, my wallet.
Cough drops.
Chapstick, my AirPods, anointing oil, and gum. It's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And this mechanical pencil and a Sharpie. Yeah. like, and my Echelon Front challenge coin. Like that. Sorry, it's nothing more exciting for you.
What sort of things would be exciting to put in a fanny pack?
I guess the reason why everyone asks, like, I don't know if they'd expect me to have like a pistol with extra mags, a knife, a tourniquet, and ninja stars.
Yes, they do. I expect you to have all of those things, right? When we've talked a little bit about like the first time that we met, right? And when Isaac was like, "Yeah, JP, he's like downplaying everything. He's like, you know, he's a good dude. He's a former Navy SEAL, and you'll probably hear the guys talk about that." I'm like, cool. And when you came in, I was like ready for you to show up in tactical gear with face paint on and like
tactical.
I wanted you to like I didn't know how it was gonna happen, but I felt like because we don't have any water around here, but I felt like you were gonna come out of the water in the foyer
so
that you were just gonna rise out of the tile.
I don't like you.
And yep. And then just blow your mask out and
nope.
Yep. And then lead the team.
Yeah, so I carry the SIG 320 compact. I also have the 365 XL, which I really like. Yeah. A little bit smaller. Amanda and I went and shot that, and she really liked that as well. Right she has a 320 compact as well that she carries. Yeah. And then we both have the SIG 226Z, the Zeb. It's a single action. It is so sexy. Yeah. That is probably one of the smoothest guns I've ever shot. It is unreal. It wouldn't be a everyday carry though. Right. It's a fun gun to shoot. but I wouldn't every day carry it. It's just a little too big.
Right.
I could appendix carry if I want, and that's the thing. It's like
You got a big appendix.
yeah, got a big belly. What?
Do you have your appendix?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I have everything.
I mean, mine got removed. I had appendicitis when I was like 14. I had to get my appendix
I
taken
mean,
out.
I would know if I was missing that, right?
I would think so.
Okay, so I have it.
Yeah.
Someone's
I'll check
listening-
you for scars
Somebody's
later.
listening like, how does
I
this
did
idiot
not know if
know?
you have your
I don't know.
appendix.
Maybe it happened when I was really little.
You would know. You would know if you didn't have your appendix. It's not a.
Yeah, I have my appendix.
Yeah,
dummy.
it's a pretty significant surgery, and it comes with a lot of pain if like beforehand. If your appendix is about to burst, it's really uncomfortable.
What's the pain like?
It starts like a stomach ache, and then it kind of feels like what I would imagine having a chest burster, like from the Alien movies that just like pop out,
Yeah.
like what that pain would be like if it was just to the right of your belly button, because it's like being stabbed from the inside whenever it got really intense. So,
And that's the pain before it bursts.
that's the pain before it burst. Mine did not burst, but I went to the nurse with a stomach ache, and the nurse called my mom and was like, yeah, I think he's faking it. And my mom was like, okay, well, he doesn't like pretend like he's sick and stuff very often. And she's like, I mean, there's been a couple of times I've questioned it. She's like, all right. So her and I are talking. I was like, no, this really hurts. And I came home and passed out for just like a couple of hours, and I got up and could hardly walk. She was like, what? I was like, it feels like somebody's trying to crawl from inside of my stomach out, like just right above my right hip. And she's like, okay, we're taking you to the ER.
So if anything, this episode was a good educational moment for people
Yeah.
that don't know about appendix.
Yeah,
issues.
check your appendixes.
Because I had zero clue. I would
Bro,
just be
it's
like,
terrible. And it doesn't do anything, but they say the number one way that, or they suspect the number one way that people get appendicitis. And if I got it, this is totally how I definitely had it. This is totally how I probably got it. Eating popcorn kernels. Bro, that's like my when people are like, what's your toxic trait? Eating popcorn kernels 100% is my toxic trait. My wife, every time I start to do it,
like partial,
she's
right?
ready.
Like partially popped ones. Because I get that. You get the bottom of the bag,
bro.
you get the partial one.
I'll go full bottom of the bag, like
Why?
the full kernels.
Why?
I don't know, I like crunchy stuff. If you could put popcorn kernel, like if they replaced peanuts in a Snickers bar with popcorn kernels, it might be my favorite candy bar.
How's?
Yep.
Do you have a lot of broken teeth?
No, no, they're very sharp though.
Clearly. I'm like, dude, how do you not have broken teeth, you savage animal? Do we have time for one more? Yes, we do.
Yeah, all right.
Because it's our show.
Because it's our show. Yeah. We get to make the rules. Okay. This has been one that I think is on everybody's mind. When is Josh Strasburger coming on the show?
Dude, I want to get Josh, Steven, and Isaac all on here on separate episodes to share their stories.
Yeah, that's from Our Pop Rock.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to know when is...
we need to make that happen.
Yeah, when is Mr. Strasburger? He did spell Josh's name right, too.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I want to have Josh on here soon to talk about his childhood, the lessons that he's learned in life and business. And I want to do the same thing with Steven and the same thing with Isaac. And I've told them all, I'm like, hey, I want to have you guys on here. And you know how I am. I'm kind of unique with that stuff. I kind of want to just, when it feels right, it'll be right. I don't want it to be like, this is what we're doing.
Right. Because there are some other people that really want to come onto your podcast, and they've like tried to work stuff out, and you're like, hey, you know what? It'll happen when it happens. When you're in Dallas, like we'll make it happen, and let's not like force anything.
Yeah, I don't.
Which, hey, from a production standpoint,
That drives you crazy.
I've come to terms with it, because at first it did.
Yeah.
At first it did, because when we're talking about like some of the people who are asking to be on the show, and I'm like, bro, let's just start booking dates and making this happen. You're like, oh, it'll happen when it happens. I'm like, no. I'm thinking about like views and hashtags and how we're gonna get this done.
Yeah, I
and
know.
you're way more laid back about it. And I was like, hey, look, if that's the approach he's gonna take on it, then I need to not just like adjust, but I need to follow that lead. That like, hey, you know what? This means that like the people in town that might have been pushed for somebody else, then now we're gonna get to do some stuff with it, and it works out. Like with Joel and with Mike Mitchell and with some of these other folks, where like I've gotten to hear enough other cool and just unbelievable stories where I'm like, no, this is the right way to do it.
Yeah. So, for me, you know, and then as long as it keeps going well like that, we keep doing it. And if it ever causes issues on your end, then you'll communicate that to me and we'll address. Like, it's no factor.
You know? I don't think it's going to cause issues.
My buddy Jeremiah Chapman, in a few Mondays, we're going to record with him as long as your schedule's open with that, because he's got an opening that actually works with mine. I'm like, I just got to confirm with Lucas.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
But he's awesome, dude. Man of faith, high-level college athlete, owns Performance Course, which is a yeah. So him and his wife run that.
That's cool,
and it's pretty cool. And like just him and his wife, their story is so awesome, and like their drive is incredible. And they're just good humans. They're good Christian humans that care about other people. They serve other people, and it's just, so I'm really looking forward to that. And it's like one of those things where it's like I was like, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast one time, and I casually put that out there, and then he followed up with me. He was like, hey, I want to follow up with you on the podcast offer if that's still on the table. I'm like, of course. And he goes, boom, 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 here's my options. I'm like, here's the only one that works for me. He's like, cool, let's go. So Sweet. That's kind of how I like to roll with those things.
Yeah, so I take it.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys listening. I know these are shorter than obviously all the other episodes, but we just wanted to be able to provide more value and content based off of what you guys have been asking. So if you guys like these, cool, let us know. If you don't like them, cool, let us know in the comments and we'll make adjustments. As always, I want to thank Jocko Fuel and Origin for their continued support in everything that I've ever done, and now with what we do with the podcast. Also, if you're looking for some beef, check out Little Cattle Co. It's Little Cattle Co. Actually, littlecattle.co is our website. And then if you have any apparel printing needs, On the Path Printing is another company that I'm a partner with. And as always, everything I do is based around what I do with Echelon Front, working for Jocko and Leif. Very thankful for the opportunity that they gave me to come on as the first instructor, and now I'm our chief training officer at Echelon Front. So if you want to check out and see what we do at Echelon Front, go to echelonfront.com, and I hope to see you guys at a future event or being able to come work with you and your companies. Again, this was the JP Dinnell podcast Q&A session with Lucas. You guys have a great day.